All right. So now we go back and start the
Yeah, it's
presentation.
being recorded now.
All right. Sounds good. Let's see. All right. Page 2. Ruthie, you're muted now. Ruthie? Ruthie. Ruthie, you're muted.
Okay, I got into diving because I had friends who were divers. I joined NAS because Dr. Jones encouraged us to. I joined Aqua because I thought they were the bomb diggity underwater and they were so wonderful with new divers. And so today I'm going to talk about dehydration and diving. One of the things that we do in AquaCore is that we ascribe to the AquaCore STEP objectives, and our objectives are safety, training, education, and professionalism. So we try to stick with that in all of our activities, and we will be going to the AquaCore retreat next week where we are going to practice our safety skills. But to our subject, one of the things that I read recently in a newspaper article was that somebody was complaining about everybody walking around with these huge water bottles. And so this particular person asked the question, just how much water does a person need? And the question is, who knows? How much water you need or how much liquid you need and how much I need are totally different things. But you want to be able to be hydrated enough to finish your dive. If you've ever gotten a cramp in your foot or your leg underwater, then that's normally a result of the fact that you do not have enough liquid floating around in your body to keep your legs hydrated once you start all of that kicking. And one of the things that happens is that once you are kicking and exercising underwater, you are going to reduce the blood volume in those joints and if you're dehydrated. And if you're dehydrated, it will also drop your blood pressure. So if you look at the fourth bullet, continuing with strenuous activities, swimming back to the boat, climbing on the ladder, carrying your dive gear, dealing with an emergency, increases your chance that you may pass out, injure yourself, or drown. And Kim Walker, I don't know if he's on this call, can give you a scenario that you do not ever want to be involved in. But one of the things that you need to do is start drinking water the night before, or start drinking Gatorade or whatever those other drinks are that are supposed to help you with hydration. Pedialyte, all of those things are very, very helpful to decrease dehydration. Next slide. Okay, dehydration is a major risk factor for decompression sickness. It reduces the circulating blood volume, blood flow to your tissues, and whenever you're trying to off gas, it impedes that as well. So if the elimination of inert gas is reduced, then you surface with more gas in your body. So that means you have a buildup of bubbles. And so you are then at risk of developing decompression sickness. And dehydration increases the thickness of your blood. So your blood is not as thin, which means it's not flowing as fast. It's not getting to all of your tissues. It's not getting to your joints. So you really want to make sure that you are super hydrated. Next slide. I think we're going backwards. Okay. So once you're back on, once you're back from your dive or during your dive, you're almost always dehydrated. That's why they have those big jugs of water on the boat. I'm encouraging people now to carry water bottles because sometimes you don't have access to water on the boat. And those little bitty paper cups that they give you, that's about 4 ounces of water. And you think you're taking in a lot of water, you're not taking in very much water. So there are reasons why you're almost always dehydrated after, before, or during a dive, and that is immersion in water, being cold, or some people are super cold and they wear wetsuits. Some people wear pants and jackets, and I normally don't. I normally don't wear a wetsuit because we're usually diving in warm water. Do not, under any circumstances, drink coffee before you go on a dive. Don't drink coffee, don't drink Coke, don't drink Dr. Pepper, don't drink any of those things that have caffeine in it because it increases dehydration, number one, and it also can run your blood pressure up. So it's not a good thing to consume alcohol or anything that has caffeine in it before you go diving. And I'm a huge coffee drinker. I can drink a pot of coffee in the morning and I'm happy all day long. But when I'm going diving, I definitely do not drink coffee in the morning before the dives. Okay, alcohol and caffeine often cause more water loss than anything else. And that's why nobody wants to wear anybody else's wetsuit. Because once you drink that alcohol or caffeine, or once you hit that water, I think it's called diuresis, or in layman's language, peeing in your wetsuit, pretty much. That's what that is. If you have a hangover, that's brain dehydration. Alcohol reduces the glucose by the liver. It's not a ready source of energy. It interferes with mental and motor control and enhances the effect of narcosis. Now, y'all know when you go out, hanging out at the club and the bar and stuff, and you have a couple of drinks, when you get home, you're sleepy. Well, you don't want to go to sleep on the water. But the effect is the same whether you're on land or on water. So just stay hydrated, and it can be as simple as drinking enough water. Water, 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 water. Just drink water. Okay, this is what Dan says. Drink a glass of water every 15 to 20 minutes instead of drinking a liter of water before or after the dive. So drink 8 ounces of water every 15 to 20 minutes. Or if you can't swallow 8 ounces, start with 4 ounces or 6 ounces, whatever you can. But the issue is drink water in intervals. Constantly drink water, not like sucking down a whole lot of water at one time. Eat fruit between dives, especially fruits that have watermelon, cantaloupe are great. Watermelon is number one because it's basically a water fruit anyway. So if you can eat fruit between dives, that's why a lot of times you see people that have orange slices, cut up melons, and things like that, because they are water-based fruits. And so you want to eat fruit between diets. Another thing is, if you like vegetables, tomatoes are very good because they have a lot of water in them as well. Of course, avoid the diuretics, alcohol, tea, coffee, and other caffeinated drinks such as cola. It's kind of redundant, but that's what they say anyway. And here are symptoms associated with dehydration. Increased thirst along with a dry and sticky mouth, signs of fatigue, confusion, or anger, dry eyes or blurred vision. And if you have to take your mask off underwater, remember that salt water is being soaked up by your eyes anyway, and that's going to help dry out your eyes. If you start to have a headache or get disoriented, cramps, muscle cramps, you're not sweating or perspiring, if you have a fever, or if when you go to the bathroom, your urine is not clear. Urine should be light yellow or clear. If your urine is dark, that's the easiest way to recognize dehydration. It should be the color of hay or straw. And if it's not, then you need to let the beer go, let the wine go, let the alcohol go, and drink water. If you're like me, I'm not a good water drinker, but I do like seltzer water because I like bubbles, but I don't like to drink soda. So if you can find alternatives to just drinking plain water, some people, sometimes they walk around with Crystal Light. I also use the little, the hydration packets. And I also use, what's the little fizzy tablet? Magnesium. So whatever works for you, do that. Okay, so I'm at the end already. The signs and symptoms of dehydration could easily be confused with the signs and symptoms of decompression sickness, and it may land you in a hyperbaric chamber. I think that's the last slide, is it, John?
You're right. Yes.
Okay. And the reason I wanted to end with this slide is because that is exactly what happened to me in Cozumel. And I ended up in a hyperbaric chamber for 6 hours because I was dehydrated. And I thought I was drinking enough water. I thought I was drinking enough water. I thought I was drinking enough water, but I obviously was not. The other thing that contributed to the fact that I was dehydrated was I really like spicy food. And at lunch, they had 3 kinds of salsas. All of them were hot. And I was sucking that stuff up like I was never going to have another meal in my life. In addition to that, I had on a shirt that I use for diving. I normally don't wear on land, but it was not a moisture wicking shirt. And I guess between the dehydration, sucking up all of that heated salsa, and having on a shirt that was not breathing, the next thing I know, I was throwing up and passing out. So I did everything I possibly could do wrong. So this is why I'm doing this presentation on dehydration. After that, I went on a liveaboard to Thailand. And from that experience in Cozumel, I got a regimen of hydration. Every night before I went to bed, I made sure that I had 8 ounces of water before I went to bed. And at 5 o'clock every morning, I got up and I would drink 16 ounces of water with magnesium, and I would drink an hour and a half later before we went diving. We normally went diving at 8. At 7 or 6:30 or 7, I would drink 16 ounces of water with I think that stuff is called liquid IV. Liquid IV. I did not have one iota of trouble with cramping or dehydration because I was very conscious of hydrating myself. But I had already paid the price for that in Cozumel by not being hydrated. And it is easily confused with decompression sickness. And the other thing I would tell you, and I knew I did not have decompression sickness. The 4 physicians who were traveling with us knew that I did not have decompression sickness. But I'm telling you, if you go to a hospital out of the country and you tell those folks that you have Dan insurance, you're going to have decompression sickness. And you're going to end up in a chamber. In addition to that, we had one other dive, and we were only diving like 50 feet. So I knew I didn't have decompression sickness. And as soon as Jennifer made me suck down all of that Gatorade, I was fine, but they made me go to the hospital anyway. And we had another incident with somebody on the airplane going home. He was also dehydrated, but he also ended up in the chamber. So stay hydrated. Do whatever you need to do to be hydrated. Start before the dive. Drink in between the dives. And Kramer keeps calling me from Honduras. Hold on. Kramer.
Ruthie, Cortland is on another Zoom with other people.
Okay. Thank you.
Cortland is on he said Cortland said he's on the official Zoom for the link that he sent you.
Okay, thanks.
He's asking where's the link that you're on that you sent out. He's trying to figure out how to move those people over to where you are or where your people are where you
Tell
Okay,
him a new went out in the email.
Okay, so Cortland is on the other. He logged into the original Zoom. Now that we're done, so I don't know what to do about him, John.
You've done your thing, and it's a recording. He can listen to the recording.
He can listen to the recording.
Yes.
Hold on 1 second, everybody, please.